Oschersleben as we get set for the second and the final free practice session of the day here as we get into the second half of the DTM Championship season. We had 4 weekends, 4 very dramatic weekends with, as usual, different winners, different podium finishers, different pole sitters and different championship leaders at the end of almost every day, it seems. We come here then for the 5th weekend of the season, the start of the second half of the campaign, and at half-time, if you like, it is Nicki Thiim that leads the championship, having had a spectacular weekend for Come To You, the Belgian squad with the Aston Martin, the Danish driver, the British car, the Belgian team, double race winners, and moving into the championship lead, also making history as Aston Martin's first ever DTM victory and the team's first ever DTM victory as well. And they did that on Saturday, they did it on Sunday. But it's a different set of circumstances, different track, a very different track, and no doubt about it, the things are going to remain wide open for the rest of this season. Chris Hartley and Brian Oliver here to talk you through what's going to be a 45-minute free practice session. And it gets underway, as you can see from the clock on screen, in just over 3.5 minutes' time. You can also see that the wind is picking up slightly. Not quite sure what that's supposed to be.
Don't ask.
I'm not going to go there, but I know what it looks like, and we've all been part of it. So we've got Oschersleben here. We've got a slight breeze. We've got the sun out, track temperature going up. It was a pretty chilly start to the day with overcast temperatures this morning. They've got their spot and their camper van ready to go. Well, they spot themselves on the big screen as well. They're all here. Fans are picking up. He thinks it's hotter than it is.
Yes.
Trying to get himself tanned for the summer holidays. And they're on the beers already. So welcome to Oschersleben, everybody. We're here in the kind of northeast of Germany. It's not that far east and it's not that far north, but it is the most northerly circuit in the calendar of DTM, and we're around about 30 kilometres from the lovely city of Magdeburg. We're kind of in the middle of an agricultural area. Very peaceful around here, but it's going to get a bit noisy very soon. We've got 20 cars about to head onto the track for what is going to be their final free practice session. The last chance to get set for qualifying tomorrow morning. And it's Thomas Preining that goes into the session, having set the fastest time this morning with a 1:22.493, the 2023 champion, the Austrian for the Manthey team, taking his Porsche to the top of the times in free practice one with teammate Ricardo Feller, the next best driver in terms of times. He did 1:22.672, just under 2/10 behind from Manthey 1-2. And Mirko Bortolotti, positive for him in the Lamborghini Temerario for the GRT Grasser racing team. Because he was third quickest, the Italian, the 2024 champion, with a 1:22.744. Maro Engel and Lucas Auer, who are always there, or thereabouts, aren't they, in the Mercedes? They were 4th and 5th. Jules Gounon was 6th. He got a maiden pole here and a maiden podium here last year in what was his first season of DTM. Bender was 7th. Luca Engstler, Nicki Thiim and Matteo Cairoli were the other drivers in the top 10. So last chance to get set, Brian, for qualifying, and it's not the easiest place in the world to overtake this circuit, so perhaps tomorrow morning's qualifying session and the one on Sunday morning are going to be more important than ever.
Yes, hello everybody. This is the last opportunity before the real serious stuff starts to get a good setup and to find the limits. And as you've already said, overtaking not necessarily that easy here, so quali will be very important. And we had the FP1 session this morning. Conditions are quite different as well. When we started this morning, there was a definite nip in the air. Well, that has gone. It is absolutely boiling, as shown by the naked people on camera.
Semi-naked.
Almost naked. But the people are starting to pour in. It was quite quiet this morning, but there's a steady stream of spectators coming in. They're in for a treat this weekend.
I wonder if this morning might be the first time we've ever travelled from the UK and it's been colder here in Germany than it was when we left home.
Yes.
Because it's been tropical in the UK for the last few weeks, hasn't it?
People keep saying, oh, you've brought your English weather with you.
Yeah,
well,
no.
we have now, because it's hot.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be hot tomorrow. It should be about 26, 27 degrees tomorrow. A bit cooler on Sunday. It should, famous last words, should be a dry race weekend, but we'll wait and see. Championship standings there, then you can see, we've already said Nicki Thiim, the championship leader. with not just the 2 wins at the Norris Ring, but he's had 3 podiums on the bouts now, with a 2nd and a 4th at the Lausitz Ring. He's scored points in all but one of the races so far this year. 7 out of 8 race scoring finishes in the points. 117 points for Nicki Thiim, 108 for Maro Engel, 3rd in the championship last year, 3rd in the championship the year before. Luca, 6 points. It's only 11 points between the top 3, and there are 56 points available each race weekend. You get 25 for a race win, 3 points if you get on pole position. That's Bastian Boost. Whoa, like
no tyre warmers.
Absolute hooligan, lighting up the tyres on the way out of the pit lane. And that's not just about showing off, is it, Brian? That is about trying to get a bit of grip down there for your pit lane escape during the pit stops, during the races that we have.
Yes, and with no rain forecast, that's very valuable, having rubber in the box, and that could be valuable thousandths of a second during the pit stops, both tomorrow and on Sunday. And with the track evolving, I mentioned it is a lot warmer than it was in the first session, and I don't know how much the data changes, but the track certainly would have done. And so setups, and look how busy it is behind Marco Wittmann, by the way, getting the setups right, but with the conditions changing as well and the air temperature warmer, suddenly it's a living, breathing thing, the track and the cars. So you've suddenly got to do a load of extra work because it's suddenly a whole lot warmer as well. So this is quite an important session, and a lot of the data would have been gathered in FP1, but not necessarily all of it is transferable to this, where we're likely to see quali simulations towards the end of the session as well.
We talked in free practice 1, if you were watching, listening, that the 3 seasons that we've had here with GT3 cars in the DTM, 2023, 2024 and 2025, 6 different race winners from 6 races, 6 different pole sitters from 6 qualifying sessions. So it's hard to get a track to which car, which brand is likely to be most competitive here. But Porsches have got the best record of podium finishes here in the last 3 years. So we saw Porsches finishing 1st and 2nd in that session with the Manthey pairing of Thomas Preining and Ricardo Feller. The drivers that have gone well here in the past, well, Luigi Auer tends to have good records everywhere. He has been a winner here, but he actually had to wait till last year to get his first win in DTM at the Oschersleben Motorsport Arena. So he got a win here last year. He was on pole last year as well. We have had a win for Luca Engstler in 2024, got his maiden win here. Timo Glock all the way back in 2015 got a race win here. Now, of course, in GT3, the McLaren, the bi-turbo car. And they are the only 3 drivers that have had race wins here in the DTM. Now, of course, a lot of that is to do with the fact that we've only come here in this era of DTM since 2023, but you've got plenty of drivers out there like Lucas Auer, Marco Wittmann, that have been here in previous iterations of DTM and raced here in the past as well. So it's very much a wide open circuit. Ricardo Feller has been on the podium here. That was back in 2024. And Thomas Preining mentioned this earlier. He's had a couple of podiums here, a couple of 3rd place finishes, one last year, one in 2023. So he's got a reasonably good record here, because if you remember, he was about to win a race in 2023, but had a penalty for a pit stop infringement, which cost him a race win. So he could have had a race win here, but he's got a couple of podiums, no win yet. And I mentioned Timo Glock was a race winner back in 2015. Marco Wittmann was also on the podium that same weekend back in 2015. And he's absolutely the most experienced driver out there in the field now, compared to other drivers in terms of the most DTM starts out there. So Marco Wittmann with Schubert with a home race this weekend for the team. It's a long way from home for Marco. He comes from the other end of Germany, from southern Germany, but for the team, they are based pretty local to the circuit, and they'll be hoping that they can get the job done this weekend and get Marco and, to appoint Kelvin, back into the championship hunt.
Yeah, after the traumas of the Norris Ring, both drivers are certainly very keen to get into the groove. And as we mentioned during FP1, Kelvin, a double winner in the GT World Challenge. Thomas Preining exploring how far he can extract the grip on that bit of track there, and a little bit of the gravel as well. But yeah, last weekend, Kelvin with a double win in the GT World Challenge. So certainly doesn't appear to be having too many after effects from that awful accident at the Norris Ring. And I know we said it in the first practice session, we say it again, get well soon, Max Powell, and we send our love, best wishes. Everybody here is very much looking forward to seeing you back on track soon. And I know it's going to be a bit of recovery time, but I'm sure we will see him back But yes, Kelvin certainly doesn't look to have been unsettled too much by what occurred at the Norris Ring. Certainly was looking good. And this morning was looking okay, actually. I mean, P14 would like to have been higher. It was higher for quite a lot of the session, but the BMW doesn't look like it's a million miles away, does it?
No, this morning we had a bit of a frenzy in the last 10 minutes. It was kind of like a mini qualifying session, was it? It was very calm, really. It was never a particularly busy track for 45 of the 55 minutes, and then suddenly they all started going for it, and it was pretty entertaining that last few minutes. Thomas Preining was key to that, and he's just set the absolute best first and second sectors of this session so far. And the comparison for last year, it was obviously a different time of year last year. This has been the season opener for the last few years, so cooler conditions when we've been here in the spring previously. We're now in the summer, and the warmest it's going to have been for these GT3 cars at this circuit. 123.804 with the mid 122s by the end of free practice 1, so still some time to be found here. But in free practice 2, Maro Engel was quickest last year.
Okay, let's push with cold tire, or let's
race run, a longer run here for Arjun, 6 push laps, because it's not just about single lap times. You've got to use the practice session to figure out what the car, what the tyres are going to do, and whether you need to tweak the setup to keep them consistent over a number of laps when you get to a race scenario. But yeah, Maro Engel was quickest in free practice 2, this equivalent session last year. It was the quicker of the 2 sessions last year, did a 122.321. In 2024, where the temperatures were cooler, Arjun, you've just seen, was quickest in free practice 2 with a 122.5. Maro Engel did a 121.951 in the free practice session a couple of years ago. So still some more time to be found out there. The track will be rubbered up. We've had lots of practice sessions for GT4 and other championships since we were last on track, so it should be grippier out there. The qualifying lap record is held by Lucas Auer, and it's a 121.004, just to give you some perspective.
It's a very technical circuit, this one, and it was a camera angle we just saw just now across turn 7, which was really interesting, looking at the lines the drivers were taking around turn 7. But turns 2, 3 and 7 are all fairly high-speed technical corners. Certainly turn 2 takes a lot of mastering. It's called the hotel turn, and we head in towards it now. Luca Engstler with personal best. We're looking at Ben Dur staring into his eyes as well as we go round that technical turn 2. But it's a really tricky turn, and we've seen many drivers getting it right, but many getting it wrong as well. I said in the earlier session that track limits were very much self-defining here. We don't get many track limits warnings. Well, I just watched the GT4 free practice session, and there were loads of track limit warnings, but they were all at turn 9, which is the exit of the chicane. It's spectacular seeing the drivers who launch their cars across the chicane, almost jumping over it. And it would appear that the race stewards and the directors are taking a bit of a dim view to that. So that is the one part of the circuit where track limits could be an issue, on the exit of turn 9, coming out of the chicane. But everywhere else, well, we've seen it already when the drivers are pushing hard. If they go too far, then they're into the gravel.
Right, so Ricardo Feller we saw was pushing. Jules Gounon has got himself up into the top 3 on his previous lap. Feller is 4th quickest, and Luca Engstler now goes to 2nd place. Maro Engel with a good lap as well, just going through ahead of Thomas Preining. Improves up to 3rd place. So it's Preining from Engstler, from Engel, and then Ben Dur has just crossed the line and gone 4th quickest, the 21-year-old. Who is one of the race winners this season, getting his first race victory, the first race victory ever for McLaren and for the Door Motorsport team. When he got the victory in race 1 at the Lausitz Ring. And there's a familiar sight this weekend, dust being kicked up, because you go on that grass. It's there's been so little rain lately, hasn't there? It's bone dry, so you can actually afford to go in the grass, probably not lose too much time here, but you're at risk of track limits penalties if you continue to do so. Yeah,
this is the session where the drivers are exploring the limit. There's your Gounon. Maybe I'd say a few millimetres too far, not too much, but you're seeing how far you can push it. And I mean, it's what Michael Schumacher used to say, isn't it? Is that you make your mistakes in free practice, you find out where the limits are, so that when you get to qualifying, when you get to the race, you are on the absolute limit. And we've seen there's another plume of dust. Was that Tom Callender maybe who's picked that one up? The dust rising up into the air. But that's part of what this session is about, just working out how to extract every last thousandth out of a lap time.
Luca Engstler's on another good lap here. Absolute best first sector, 30.328 seconds. By the way, the lap, as usual, is divided into 3 segments or sectors. So we're talking about sector times. Just so you know, sector 1 takes you from the start-finish line through the sharp left at turn 1, through the big sweeping turn 2, the hotel curver, onto the back straight, and then on the exit to turn 3, the first of the hairpins, the Hasselrode, that's where sector 1 ends. Sector 2 is all the twisty fiddly bits, so that's the triple left through turns 4, 5 and 6, the big sweeping hairpin at turn 7, the chicane at turns 8 and 9, and the right at turn 10, and then all of the back straight, that's sector 2, and then sector 3 is just the S-bend section, the right and the left at turns 11 and 12, and the double right-handers at the end of the lap to the finish line. So those are the way the lap is divided up into 3 sectors around here. But in terms of time, sector 1 is the longest, that's around about 30 seconds. Sector 2 takes just under 29, and sector 3 is the shortest sector at just under 24 seconds.
So we ride on board briefly. There's Matteo Cairoli looking to come back from the Norris ring, and certainly of the 2 Ferraris, well, we just saw actually down the straight Thierry Vermeulen weaving vigorously. There's the Sol GRT Grasser car. And at this point, I just want to shout out Gottfried Grasser, who 2 weeks ago returned to racing after a 13-year absence. He took part in the GT Masters race at the Nürburgring and was very good indeed, very entertaining, held off some very rapid drivers to come home in 6th place in the 2nd race. So really good to see Gottfried out there, back on the track. I hope it's not the last time we're going to see him. It was very entertaining. It was also very popular with the fans, who absolutely loved seeing a person who we now, in the modern era, as a team owner, team principal, but he was looking great in the GT Masters.
Yeah, good job, and still enthusiastic about his racing, isn't he? Whether it's behind the scenes, he is still be competitive. There is Lugi out, a bit like Jules Gournot, letting that Mercedes run out as wide as he can. His 2nd season with the Landgraf team, goes through 4th quickest for the Austrian. So Lugi out off the back of a double podium finish at Misano last weekend with Maro Engel to extend their lead in the GT World Challenge, on fine form as ever. There is Kelvin van der Linde heading off into the pits with his 2024 championship rival right behind him, and staying out on track in the TGI GRT Grasser Lamborghini. Mirko Bortolotti heading over the start-finish line after being 3rd quickest in free practice 1. The Ferrari Matteo Cairoli goes through next. They've had a ride height change since the Lausitz ring, which means the car has been raised up by the balance performance, and the lower to the ground a car is, the better. Centre of gravity as low as possible to be as quick as possible. You change the ride height at the front and the back, raise it up even by just a few millimetres. It makes a huge difference to the handling of the car. And tough weekend at the Norris ring. Wittmann has put the absolute best middle sector in here. He's already 3rd quickest as well. Cairoli put in a good lap to go 4th in the Ferrari. So this could be the best lap of the session so far from Marco Wittmann. We'll find out momentarily, because he goes over the line, goes 2nd quickest, almost to the top of the times, only 14 thousandths of a second behind Luca Engstler.
Yes, I've been watching that one build over the last couple of laps, and it does feel as though, we certainly saw it this morning with Thomas Preining, that there's quite a few laps to be got out of each set of tyres. Once they're in the window, it's not just a 1 lap and it's all over, and we can see the drivers just building the heat and building the speed as they go. So Marco Wittmann showing that there is some good pace in the BMW. The vast entourage here with Schubert Motorsport will be delighted to see that, as we once again see the Sol GRT Grasser Lamborghini out in the hands of Mirko Bortolotti.
Kicking out the dust and going through and doing a 123.984, so he's on a slightly longer run as well. Mapelli has gone 4th quickest in the Red Bull Abt Lamborghini, so good job by the Lamborghini factory driver, the Italian, in his 1st season. Already a podium finisher in the DTM. There's his teammate Luca Engstler, both of them newcomers to the Abt family this season. Abt looking to bounce back off the back of a very disappointing, very tough season with the Hurricane last year, having of course been so successful over all those years running Audis, but they now started to get to grips with this Temerario as well. They've got less time to develop it than Grassi, because Grassi use it in the GT World Challenge as well, whereas Abt only race that Temerario here. Wittmann has gone to the top of the times, 1:23.107 seconds. Now, Marco Wittmann has had 218 race starts in the DTM. After this weekend, he'll move up to 220.
Okay, please cool down the brakes. 1 lap cool down, then we do a pit stop.
Pit stop practice as well, always important to do here in the DTM.
Look at that dust storm.
Possibly Nicki Thiim, wasn't it? Who just whizzed past him that kicked out that dust. But yeah, Marco Wittmann, he'll move on to 220, assuming he gets both races in this weekend, 220 races in the DTM. That will move him up to 2nd place in the all-time list. Only Bernd Schneider ever has done more DTM races than him. On 236, he's going to move ahead of another great of the championship, Klaus Ludwig, who's had 219 race starts in the championship.
Amazing. It takes a bit of courage to get your foot buried on it when you're going into a fog of dust. So yes, Marco certainly looking pretty rapid there, 1:23.107. So they'll be encouraged by that. We don't know how hard everyone else is pushing. There is Thierry Vermeulen in the number 69 car, currently down in 17th place at the moment, but he's just done a couple of personal bests, so this is going to move him up a little bit as he comes out to complete that lap and jumps up to 13th place, so finding a bit more pace there as well.
Just had a thought. We're talking about the Ferraris. We had a chat with Pavel Neudil from the team who looks after the tyres for Emil Frey and the Ferraris, and said, "How was this morning?" He said, "Well, pretty good for Thierry Vermeulen. He was up there, wasn't he, in the top 4 in that free practice session, but still a bit to find for Matteo Cairoli, the driver that sits 4th in the championship, the driver in the pink Ferrari that's coming through your shot at the moment." Just a thought, looking at what he's done before, I'm not sure he's ever had a race weekend here at Oschersleben. It might be his first, because he's competed in the GT World Challenge, Porsche Carrera Cup Italy, Nürburgring, he's been a race winner, Asian Le Mans, GT World Challenge, European Le Mans Series, but I'm not sure he's ever raced in anything that would have brought him to Oschersleben before, so it might be a first race weekend for him at this circuit.
Interesting, and I'm looking down the list of drivers and I can't think of anybody else who would not have raced here before, so it could be that Matteo Cairoli is starting at a bit of a disadvantage here at Oschersleben, because it is, as we said already, a technical track, takes a bit of mastering and quite a lot to work out here. So yeah, interesting. He's up in 6th place at the moment, so he's not exactly slow, is he? So he's only getting to grips with it. I'll have to go and find him and find that out between.
Plus, these days they get used to the circuit. A lot of sim work that goes on, isn't there? But I'm actually doing it. It's obviously a different feeling altogether. But it's amazing, isn't it? The computer brains of these racing drivers, how they're able to just pick things up so quickly and then repeat, and just get it into their rhythm. But of course, you feel that if you've been somewhere before, and that familiarity, it's always going to help you a little bit. But yeah, I'll double check that. It was just a thought that I had. I'm not sure. I can't think of anything he would have come in and race. I might be wrong, but it certainly wouldn't have been very often. But I don't think he's been here before race-wise. So yeah, tricky. And it's something else we also gathered when we were speaking to people in the pit. We spoke to Emil Frey, as I said. We spoke to Bernd Schneider as well. He's with Landgraf, of course, looking after Tom Callender, the former champion, the 5-time champion. And both of them said actually tyre pickup here with the dead bits of rubber that come off the old tyres is quite unique to this circuit, because it's a relatively smooth surface. And Bert was saying you've got to be really aggressive warming your tyres up on outlaps, which is something to consider tomorrow for qualifying. Otherwise, those dead bits of rubber, if you go off the racing line, they really stick to the tyres and you can't shake them off, so you've got slightly misshapen tyres. And Pavel said exactly the same at Emil Frey, didn't he? It's sort of unique to this circuit, and when they're trying to clean the tyres, you see them in the pit lane. If you come to DTM, they're scraping the tyres to scrape all the excess off.
Nicola Bart having another excursion.
It's going to take a bit of scraping off, isn't it? You scrape these tyres, it takes ages, so sticky, especially these new tyres, the stickier tyres that we've got this season. It's really sticking to them, and that's going to be an issue the hotter it gets over the weekend.
And the other thing Pavel was saying to us was that actually when you've got other compounds running on the circuit, that can play havoc as well when you're picking up marbles from a different brand of tyre. He's quite happy that Porsche are not on the bill this weekend, because they're not scraping off the rubber from another supplier's tyres, and it's that can compromise grip. I think that is very much compromised grip there on the exit of turn 2. We said it's a tricky corner, and you see drivers tackling it in different ways. This is the only place where we might get track limits, on the exit of turn 9, as Nicki Thiim pushes as hard as he can. But yeah, looking down at that hotel turn, and it's interesting, you look at that over the course of the weekend, drivers taking different lines through it, and if there's going to be any kind of drama, it's almost certainly going to be on the hotel turn, because that is the one where drivers tend to trip over each other. But if they get it right, you can find an awful lot of time there, can't you?
Yeah, if you go tight into a corner, naturally it sends you wide on the exit. Feels like that's what happened to Nicola Bartlett. It was quite on the inside curve there, wasn't it? And just seems to be struggling with a little bit of understeer on his car as well. It was understeer where he turned right to come out of turn 10 in free practice 1, and the car just didn't turn enough. The front end sort of washed out and carried straight on, and that sent him into the gravel in free practice 1 on the other side of the circuit. Is Mauro Engel, who is one driver who's renowned for how good he is at getting tyres quickly up to temperature on those out laps after you change tyres with no tyre warmers from the pit stops in the races. He's made a lot of time up on other drivers there. As Jules Counon continues to find the edge of that circuit, isn't he? Right to the edge of that green strip beyond the curbs, but not quite doing enough to lose the momentum or risk a puncture by going through the gravel. But he's getting very close, because you have to get close out of that corner. It's only 95 kilometres an hour into it, but you've got to nail that throttle, your second gear into the corner. By the time you get to the end of the start-finish straight, you are at 240 kilometres an hour or thereabouts before you come into the hotel corner. And it's still quite tight. I mean, it's tight, that left-hander turn 1, but it's fourth gear. It's still quite quick, isn't it? Sort of flick through there and then sort of stab on the brakes into the hotel curve, the right-hander, which follows immediately thereafter. So the car's kind of a bit unsettled as well, because you've just straight out of a left straight into the right-hander.
I mean, the turns 4 and 5 are the fastest corners on the circuit, and as you say, quite there again, we keep saying it, but quite technical. It takes a lot of work to get it absolutely right, and that can make the difference on a field as close as this between the front and the back of the pack. We see Arjamani out onto the pit straight. It's all kind of feeling quite laid back at the moment, but I get the feeling as we look at the straight line speeds, well, the Mustangs quickest in a straight line, 2:39. Marco Wittmann in the BMW, third, 2:37. Also, Luca Engstler. But yeah, it kind of feels quite laid back at the moment. We keep seeing these dust storms rising up into the air as everybody's just pushing that a little bit harder. But I expect that in a bit we're going to start seeing the quali simulations where the drivers are going to be getting that final setup. Because tomorrow morning, quali is on at 9:45 in the morning, where the track is going to be a whole lot cooler again. But this is going to be their last opportunity to get that set up. So I think we're probably going to get into that kind of quali mode before too long.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that Ferrari was up there in top speeds as well, and we've seen that more and more this year. And it's an Evo package, so it's an update to the original 296. And they deliberately changed the car to lose downforce by changing the winglets, because they felt that the Ferrari wasn't quite as quick as it needed to be in a straight line, so they had to make it slicker in a straight line. But that, of course, then you offset against that. We've got a car which doesn't quite handle as well in the corners. So revised aero on the Ferraris for this year. They changed quite a lot the front end of the car, reprofiled it to make it a bit more slipstreamy through the air. The wheel arches they changed on it. The bonnet intakes were tweaked to give them more airflow to the brakes as well, to help the brakes cool down a little bit better on that Ferrari 296. And the engine's actually slightly different to the road version of the 296. It's mounted slightly further forward, so that changes the centre of gravity in the car and makes the car a bit stiffer, a bit more rigid as well. So these little tweaks that they've made to the Evo update. But it's, as Thierry Vermeulen has said to us a few times this year, they're taking a little bit of time to tweak the setup to get used to it a little bit. Plus then you're having to deal with a new tyre, which is the same for everybody. You've got a new tyre compound from Pirelli this year. So all the data you thought you knew, all the setup data you thought you knew, it's out of the window because the tyre is, I mean, it's only slightly different, but it is different. And plus here at Brian, at the Oschersleben, we've got track temperatures and air normal. So you've got a new tyre, you've got higher track temperatures, you've got quite a few cars like the Ferrari out there with Evo packages. So you've got this setup information, this data, but a lot of it you're going to have to tweak.
Not transferable. No, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not used to coming here and not bringing a coat. So we look at Arjamani with the Mustang, and that's a tyre that has famously, in the short time it's been in the GT3 era of DTM, has famously gets the tyres into the window very, very quickly. But the problem with that is it gets the tyres into the window very, very quickly, i.e. they can go over temperature quite quickly as well. There's, of course, a new Evo pack for the Mustang this year as well. It's carrying an upgraded front end this year to cure some of the handling issues from last season. And Arjamaini has already noted it's very fast in a straight line, but can suffer from traction issues out of tight, slow corners. But the issue of tyre temperature and going beyond the window. So it's great in quali, get the tyres in the window quickly, but you do then have the issue where you're going to cook the tyres if you're not too careful. Timo Glock, we've mentioned much about his bad luck already this year, last year, but actually looking pretty good here. And if everything hangs together and he can pull it all together, that P2 is a good representative time, a 1:23.195. So we know the McLaren can be pretty rapid. He just needs one that holds together for the duration, and looks like he's in pretty good shape at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would begrudge a good finish for Timo Glock. There's been few and far between, haven't they? All the bad luck seems to have come his way over the last couple of seasons. But yeah, he was fifth quickest the lap before that. He's got up to second now, so good pace for the driver that has been as high as fifth in the championship of the DTM back in the Class 1 era, the ex-Grand Prix racer, podium finisher with the Toyota F1 team as well. That McLaren has actually got the most horsepower out there. Of course, we've got different types of engine, different chassis with all these GT3 cars, different amounts of power. Some are normally aspirated, some are turbo powered, and therefore you have to balance the performance to equalise things out. But actually, straight horsepower, that McLaren bi-turbo, 720 brake horsepower. Now, we always talk about the rumble of that V8 that powers the Ford Mustang, but that's only got 550 brake horsepower, and that's how hard it is to control 720 brake horsepower. The mid-engine car, it's a carbon chassis on that, only weighs 1,250 kilograms. Very nimble car, isn't it? 4-litre V8 engine in that as well, the McLaren. But yeah, that was just beyond the limits, wasn't it? That.
Timo said on his Instagram after Nürburgring, there hasn't been a single session this season where there wasn't a problem with my car. So I'm hoping that little run has now finished, but certainly he was exploring the limits of adhesion there coming out of the corner, wasn't he? But that's good up into that P2 as well. And still continuing to circulate at a good pace.
That pit lane exit we touched upon a couple of times in free practice one. I'm struggling to think of there's not too many tracks in the world where a pit lane exit comes out in the middle of a corner.
Yeah,
it's usually
weird,
on a straight, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it
was wild.
A little bit wild, wasn't it? Yeah. Gravel being brought back onto the track, not just by Timo, but other people have ran wide there. Like you see lots of gravel on the racing line. Gravel is not grippy.
No,
these
apparently
marbles of stone. So this was, everybody's been going wide here, haven't they? So we saw in free practice one, lots of gravel brought back onto the circuit there. Let's get some team radio from Marco Wittmann.
Copy. Keep in mind the timing. That we don't run out of time towards the end of this.
Yeah, copy that. We have about 3 to 4 laps to read the balance, and then we need to know the decision.
Still working on setup, I say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trying things out.
I bet it's a never-ending thing, isn't it? Yeah, you talked about the pit entry and pit exit. So the pit entry is just coming into turn 14. Again, quite weird on the outside of the track, having the pits on the outside. But as you say, that pit entry, the car blends in on the outside of turn 2, and there is a blend line on the track, and it's really important that the cars don't cross that white line. I mean, it's in the rules, very, very important here, because it is such a fast, tricky part. You can see that line, the white line there. The drivers need to come out of the pit, stay to the left-hand side of that white line before rejoining, and that is critical to avoid any major incidents. But it is a really unusual circuit, having the pits on the outside with the entry and exit lane for the pits on those corners.
And we've, on Sunday, got a second mandatory pit stop, which is only a 6-minute pit window towards the end of the race.
I'll brighten it up.
So, yeah, they're all going to be coming out together. In fact, it was the first time we had that rule was at Oschersleben, wasn't it? Because it was the season opener, the first year that rule was brought in. And remember, we were like, after the Sunday race, we're like, yeah, I think we like this rule, because it really made the race very good indeed, didn't it? Right, so Marco Wittmann on a charge. That's like 4 litres of the McLaren. You've got 3 litres, a straight 6 on that BMW, but it might not have the horsepower of the McLaren, but it's got 590 brake horsepower and is renowned for being very quick in a straight line. That Marco Wittmann, one of only 7 multiple DTM champions. He won the title in 2014. He won the title in 2016. I first came across him when DTM was visiting Brands Hatch, and I was the pit lane reporter, and he was racing in the European Formula 3 Championship.
It's going back a few years.
Yeah, he's going back a few years. Gracious enough to give me an interview on the microphone whilst he was in the car on the grid, ready to go racing, which was pretty cool. So, and you know, if you're a fan of racing and going wheel to wheel, itty brutal, and he's really entertaining to watch, I've always found.
And he has a big fan club who make a lot of noise, and a very popular driver, and certainly getting into the realms of record breaking with the number of starts he's made, and still probably feels as though there's unfinished business after the fuel issue. Was that 1 or 2 years ago? 2 years ago, wasn't it? Or was it 1 year ago where he had the issue here? I can't remember how long
24.
ago it was. 24. Yeah, no, 2 years ago. Oh, how time flies. I was just thinking, Oschersleben, this is the first time I've ever been here for an event. I mean, I've been here many, many years. It's the first time I've ever been here for an event that hasn't been either a season opener or a season closer. I mean, it was season closer during the COVID years of GT Masters, but it's always been a season opener here, and it works quite well as a little mid-season one as well, I think. It's lovely in the sunshine. In Magdeburg, what's not to love?
Yeah, I'm only grateful that the DTM didn't decide to have a half-time show like they did in the World Cup final, because that was shocking.
Chance to go and have a cup of tea, wouldn't it?
Just have a break. Yeah. Just have a half-time. We don't need to see much.
Don't need hydration break.
Justin Bieber or any of that like that.
No, or Madonna.
But yeah, Marco back in. It was 2024. 4 laps to go. He was leading the
24,
race. And then
time flies.
A fueling issue with the car.
Yeah.
I remember vividly. You can imagine that home race, how many guests and sponsors and supporters are here with Stuart Motorsport. So at the back of the garages is where you have all of the hospitality units, and there's a massive one for Schubert. There always is at this event, and they've got a huge outdoor area, a huge indoor area. It's absolutely massive, and a stage, and they're doing lots of Q&As there with drivers. And I always remember, very shortly after that race, the heartache of that race, Torsten Schubert had to go up and stand in front of all those people and do a Q&A with all the sponsors. And it must have been the last thing he wanted to do. Absolutely heartbreaking.
Well, it's good to see Marco back out on track, because at the moment we have the unusual situation where there's just one car on track at the moment in the shape of Ben Durr. Everybody else is chilling, but I think with 12 and a quarter minutes remaining, it's all going to probably kick off in a bit, because they're just waiting to do that quali simulation, aren't they? So now we've got 2 cars on track. Marco Wittmann, I can't actually remember a free practice session where we've had literally just one car circulating. Marco back out again.
Simulating the first few minutes of qualifying tomorrow.
Yes, well, that's it, isn't it? I mean, this is 20 minutes, and this is what the first 9 is likely to be like. So.
Ben's attacking there. That was pretty spectacular, watching him go through the chicane. Sends the McLaren as wide as he can. Goes over the curves with the left-hand side of the car, but crucially keeps the right-hand side within track limits. And that is the absolute best middle sector. So Ben Durr here, winner at the Lausitz Ring, podium finisher at Zandvoort the weekend before that. A tough weekend at the Norris Ring, but superb season for the driver that finished as the runner-up in the rookie standings last year. I mean, his best season so far in what's only his 3rd season of the DTM, currently 6th in the standings, and goes over the line and goes to the top of the times with a 1:22.943. So Durr Motorsport, McLaren's 1st and 3rd, with Ben Durr fastest, Marco Wittmann is 2nd, and 3rd is Timo Glock in the other McLaren.
Picked the right car to have it pointing at the driver's face there, didn't we? That was great, as we look at him attacking the chicane and just testing the suspension on that McLaren as well. But good, taking advantage of an empty track. Well, we said this might happen, and it is. Suddenly, pretty well every single car is moving in the pit lanes and coming out onto the track. So with what will be a little over 10.5 minutes remaining, I think we're in for the quali simulation, and maybe this is going to be the time where we actually start to find out the pecking order a little bit for this weekend.
I asked Ben, is this going to be a good track for you? Do you like it? He said, yeah, it's not our best track for the car. It's not the best suited to the car, but it's also certainly not the worst as well. So he was feeling reasonably confident of a decent weekend here. Got a top 10 finish here last year, I remember. That was the first time I really noticed him mixing it with, at the start of his second season, the likes of René Rast. He went wheel to wheel with Mirko Bortolotti as well. Went on to get 3 top 8 finishes last year. Of course, he's surpassed that already this year. Did get a pole position last year as well at the Nürburgring. Did, by all intents and purposes, get a podium as well until it was taken away from him because the team had put the wrong tyres on the car, not in the race, but just to the grid. So he lost that podium. But there were glimpses certainly last year of, this is a driver that is suddenly getting seriously competitive. He's had more and more time in the car. He's doing other series now in GT World Challenge, for example, where he's gone very well as well. And good to see him going well here. The BMW of Kelvin van der Linde, whilst Marco Wittmann, his teammate, is second quickest, Kelvin is only 19th at the moment.
And maybe they're just on a different strategy in terms of working on a setup. One would like to think so, but yeah, at the moment they're kind of almost bookmarking the field, with the exception of Ben Dur at the top and Nicolas Bart at the bottom. So Ben Dur continues out on track, but it's very busy because now everybody, interestingly, with the exception of Thomas Preining, is out on track. So Preining, the only one in the pits, he was the driver who was out so much during FP1 and kept going quicker and quicker. At the moment, he's the only car that's not out on track. So less than 9 minutes remaining of this session. The one they're chasing is the only driver into the 22s in this session. Ben Dur, 122.943. Marco Wittmann, been at the top for so long, but Timo Glock in third as well. So the McLarens, 1 and 3, they'd be very happy if they could reproduce this in quali tomorrow, wouldn't they?
That you can use across 2 practice sessions. It used to be that you'd only have 1 set of new tyres, but this year they changed the rules. There's a pot of tyres that you have that you accumulate, then you have to give them back at the end of test sessions and free practice sessions. But you can, in theory, keep newer tyres if you want to. So they could have up to 3 sets of new tyres. It's unlikely, I would say, that you'd use 3 sets of new tyres, but some of them might have 1 or 2, and you don't know whether they use the newer tyres in free practice 1 or free practice 2. We're actually a bit slower than we were in free practice 1, even though there's more rubber being laid on the track temperatures are up compared to the first session. We are about half a second slower. So what Thomas Preining this morning did a 122.493. Ben Dur is quickest at the moment. He's done a 122.943. A caveat by saying that at the moment though, Brian, because he's just set the absolute best first sector time. He's looking good. That McLaren, he's so nimble through the corners, isn't it? Yeah,
it really is. And he's continuing to pick up the pace as Nicki Thiim up ahead of him. So why do you think it is that the track appears to be slower? Well, the times are slower now than what they were this morning, because in my head, with more rubber going down, with the temperature rising, surely it should be quicker. Or is it just that I'm stopping the clock too early here?
Well, wait and see, I guess, because it was only really the last 6 or 7 minutes of the first free practice session that the times got really quick, wasn't it? And it's felt a bit more frenetic now, isn't it? Where like the track's gone from being empty to completely full.
Everybody's out now.
Everybody's out
Every
there.
Car,
123.023 seconds for Ben Dur.
I think where Kelvin's going to end up here. He's done personal best. He's
that's
up to
better.
6th, so that's a bit more.
123.264. Yes, that is better, isn't it? Dur's time was still quicker than everybody else, but wasn't quite as quick as his absolute best, which is still at 122.943. So again, we don't know what they're doing. Are they trying to get absolute qualifying type runs in, or we've already seen a lot of the session has been given over to we've heard on team radios drivers going for longer runs. Arjun Maini, Marco Wittmann going for slightly longer runs.
Well, maybe that's why the times are slower at the moment then, but we'll see what happens here, because the fact that everybody waited until 12.5 minutes were remaining on the clock, then they all came out on the pit, suggests that everybody is on a quali simulation at the moment. And with every single car on the track, everybody beautifully spaced out, with the exception of Mirko Bortolotti and Jules Gounon, who are right close to each other, but everybody else perfectly spaced out. So this is an absolute quali simulation that's about to happen.
Well, it's the last thing they're going to do before they go qualifying tomorrow, so you think they want to get one in. And it's also about how many laps can we get out of the tyres. When normally on a qualifying run you can get 2, depending on the track, sometimes 3 laps 3 really quick laps out of the tyres. But you usually have to 2.5 laps. That's kind of your limit. So that's something else they're trying to do. Also, just practice the rhythm of doing it as a driver. Maro Engel improves, but only into 10th place. Kelvin van der Linde goes up into 5th. So I was getting slight alarm bells when he was last but one of the session. They've now gone away. They've gone away. No, back where you expect him to be, somewhere near the top, Kelvin van der Linde. So yeah. Could be well worth a watch this weekend. We know historically those BMWs are always better in the races than they are in qualifying type trim, don't we? So if they can be somewhere-ish near, in around the top 10 in qualifying, there's no reason why they can't be pushing for podiums in the races.
Yeah, we've said this all along. If they could ever sort the qualifying out, they'd be unstoppable, wouldn't they? Our championship leader is down in 17th place at the moment. Nicki Thiim, who is, from my understanding, campaigning to have every round of next year's DTM calendar at the Nürburgring. He currently down in 17th place. So remember, tomorrow he's going to quali in that setup, but he's going to have an additional 20 kilos on board.
Sorry, box is left for pit stop, please. Box.
He's going to have that extra 20 kilos of success ballast on board. He referred to himself in race 2 at the Nürburgring as the fat kid at school. Well, he's going to be just as fat. Politically incorrect comments are available. He's going to be just as fat for the race tomorrow because he will have that 20 kilos of success ballast on board on top of what he's got at the moment. As Maro Engel, 122.806. So Maro Engel in the Mercedes, right, well, it's a Mercedes 1-2 because Lucas Auer has just beaten him with a 122.664. That's quite a significant amount, almost a 1.5 tenths ahead. So Luca Engstler up into P3, so the Temerario looking good. Suddenly Ben Dur and Marco Wittmann, who had taken residence at the top, are down in 4th and 5th.
Yeah, you're feeling it a bit more now. It feels a bit more like qualifying type pace. Jules Gounon's on a good start to his lap with the personal best through the first sector. Jules Gounon's first sector time, 30.398, is still 2.5 tenths down on the best first sector time, though. So he needs to make up time elsewhere if he's to challenge at the top. Arjun Maini is going to get to the line fairly shortly, and he's on a good lap as well, an improved lap here. Let's see, the Mustang out wide, sends it through, nice and tidy from the Indian driver, comes through, and only 16th, but look, he's only 8 tenths of a second away from the fastest time. But Preining coming through next. Then it was Jules Gounon. How's Jules getting on? 8th at the moment, 123.270. Yeah, first time you and I at the start of last season met the team boss at Come To You Racing, Francois Verbiste, was here at Oschersleben, and he said to us then, look, this track is probably the one that's least suited to our car. So, it's going to be a tough weekend.
Do you have a paper with you, or are you okay to go out?
Piece of paper with you.
So yeah, I don't think this is necessarily going to be Aston Martin's strongest track.
Yeah,
best.
Yeah.
Right.
Just to close off what you were saying about Come To You, their second season, Mario Schubauer was lured by Nicki Thiim, of course, who won him who had won with him at SSR a couple of years ago. But he said that Mario Schubauer brings a lot of calm to the team, and I think that's very significant, actually. As Thomas Preining into Sector 3, looking to leap from 16th. Well, this is going to be an improvement, surely. He heads out into the final sector, into turn 13, he will come. Luca Engstler also responding. This is going to be a fun last couple of minutes, isn't it?
Yeah,
but like Thomas Preining, this is like quality, isn't it?
Like free practice one, they're all going for it, aren't they, at the end of the session? Right, where is Tommy going to end up? The 2023 champion comes through, go top of the times.
Yeah.
But, as you say, Luca Engstler, he's on a mission as well. Absolute best through the first sector for him. Look at that. That is just beyond the ragged edge, isn't it, for Thomas Preining? Just about keeps the right-hand tyres on the curb, so that's okay in terms of track limits, I would say. Right, Engstler, personal best through the second sector. Ricardo Feller is looking to improve himself in the Porsche as well. He was second quickest in free practice one. Here is Luca Engstler then, the multiple TCR touring car champion and a very, very strong GT driver these days. Double winner in this championship. Second place, only 91 thousandths of a second behind Thomas Preining. This is looking very positive so far for those Temerarios, but Ricardo Feller does what he did this morning, goes second quickest, and he's only a fraction behind his teammate Preining. 81 thousandths of a second between the pair of them. Let's get some team radio. One day.
I think Timo has not got a lot to say about the situation, so it was a reasonable session for him. He's in 13th place, 123.195, but he's only just under 8/10 off the fastest time. So very much in the ballpark, but clearly not a lot to say on team radio. Oh.
Yes, I fully agree, Timo. Thomas Preining then, fastest, 122.425, which is just over half a tenth quicker than his best lap time from free practice one. So very consistent there from the former champion. Ricardo Feller, 122.506 is 81 thousandths behind, only 10 thousandths slower than him, i.e. 1/100th of a second behind him is Luca Engstler third. Lucas Auer is gone in the pit, so he won't go any more laps in this session now. He's fourth. And Mirko Bortolotti's just gone fifth. So we've got the Red Bull Abs Lamborghini Temerario of Luca Engstler third, and we've got the TGI by GRT Grassa Lamborghini of the former champion Mirko Bortolotti up into the top 5 as well. But ominously, Brian, Mercedes, they might be at the top of the times, but they're all thereabouts, aren't they? Auer in 4th, Engel in 6th, and Gounon in 7th.
Yes, consistency once again, but Thomas Preining and Ricardo Feller, I think after being distinctly grumpy after the Norris ring, maybe things have turned a little bit here at Oschersleben, and Preining and Feller occupying the top spots, and the Temerario very much up there as well.
Quick shout for Tom Callender as well. Big improvement for him. He's found half a second on the first session time. Did a 1:23.5 this morning. He was struggling a bit. He's just done a 1:23.096 and got himself into the top 10 to within just under 7/10 of a second of the fastest time. So Tom Callender, youngest driver in the field, doing a good job there, as Bortolotti goes across the line with what was a 1:22.781, which is only just a whisker away from his absolute best the lap before that, which was 1:22.741. So 40 thousandths of a second between his 2 lap times. It's the mark of a champion, isn't it? The consistency that he has. But Thomas Preining will sleep the best tonight, won't he? Because he's been fastest in both free practice sessions.
Yeah, holiday he's been on has clearly done him some good as well. The ones to look at not so quick, I would say the Astons and the Mustangs, who, along with Bastian Buus, are occupying the bottom 5 places on the timing screens.
Yeah, and as I say, a track that might not quite suit them as well. So there you go, Thomas Preining. Can't keep him down for long, can you? If he can repeat this tomorrow, I'll be very happy. 1:22.425 seconds. Fastest, and his teammate Ricardo Feller second. So that's a 1-2 for Manthey in both free practice sessions today. Luca Engstler has impressed. He was third quickest, having been in the top 10 earlier today when he was in 8th place. So Auer 4th, Bortolotti 5th, Engel in 6th, Gounon 7th, Durr in 8th, Wittmann 9th, Callender in 10th, and you can see Vermeulen in 11th, Cairoli in 12th, Mappelli 13th, then Timo Glock at 14th, Kelvin van der Linde 15th, and then Nicki Thiim, the championship leader, in 16th place. There, the rest of the runners. So we go qualifying for the first time this weekend tomorrow morning at 9:45 a.m. Local time. We'll be on air, of course, before that to bring you all the build-up from Brian Oliver and me, Chris Hartley. Thanks for your company. We'll be joined, of course, by Verena Vreet in the pit lane tomorrow. Enjoy your evening, and we'll speak to you again tomorrow for race day here at Oschersleben, and we'll leave you with this flying lap from Thomas Preining, fastest lap of the day with a 1:22.425 seconds. Enjoy the ride on board with Thomas Preining as we bid you farewell, and we'll speak to you again tomorrow. Thanks for your company. Take care. Bye for now.